All right. From the not all Republicans are absolute dicks department, we get this good news from Ohio, of all places. Oops. Ohio's GOP governor vetoes ban on gender-affirming care and transgender athletes in girls' sports, which is awesome. I have this horrible feeling that it's going to be done for the wrong reason, but hopefully I'm just being very skeptical. Anyway, let's get to the article. Republican Ohio Governor Mike DeWine vetoed a measure Friday that would have banned gender-affirming care for minors, casting the action out of step with many in his own party as thoughtful, limited, and pro-life. Yes, the irony of anti-abortionists using that term. He simultaneously announced plans to move to administratively ban transgender surgeries until a person is 18, which is in most cases, and to position the state to better regulate and track gender-affirming treatments in both children and adults. Why? Why do you want to track this? I mean, okay, depending on the regulation, obviously we don't want some shady place claiming to be a gender clinic taking advantage of trans people. Obviously not. But I'm not sure I trust this. As for banning trans surgeries until the person is 18, again, unless their gender dysphoria is really, really bad, that doesn't happen anyway. So we're banning something that really doesn't happen except in emergency cases. So for those emergency cases, this ban sucks. Regulate, like I said, depends on what they mean by that. Track gender-affirming treatments. Why? Why is that necessary? Why do you need to track this? I mean, what, do you not trust trans people and their families to know what's happening? Or the physicians to actually be able to properly care for trans people? I'm sorry that you just realized that what it takes to, that what all goes into gender affirming care, but most people knew. You know, the experts knew. That's why they're experts. So yeah, I'm curious about that one. So yay, he did something good, but there's a caveat to it. At a news conference, DeWine said he hoped the hybrid approach could win the support of legislative Republicans who immediately signaled they're considering a veto override, as well as serve as a national model to states as gender-affirming care restrictions enacted across the country in recent years face lawsuits. Okay. The veto bill also would have banned transgender athletes' participation in girls' and women's sports. Okay, so it sounds like he's trying to find a middle ground, which, on the one hand, okay, he's just trying to get stuff through his state, fine. And he's also trying to keep his job, which is, of course, fine. But when it comes to people's rights, there isn't a middle ground. Either you respect them or you don't. So, even though this isn't the most horrible thing, and I appreciate that he's at least trying to compromise, rights shouldn't be compromised on. But this is still better than nothing, so yeah, at least that. I'm not trans, so I can't say that trans people should just accept it. But at least it's better than being told that you shouldn't be allowed to exist. So there's that. But anyway, that is the... Oh wait, it's not the end of the article. They tricked me. DeWine said he listened to people on both sides of the legislation who all sincerely and truly believe their position best protects children. And you want to take a guess as to which position actually does that? Ultimately deciding he could not support legislation that bans healthcare so many patients, families, and doctors told him is saving lives. Huh. A Republican who actually listens to the experts. Yeah, if this doesn't get overturned, someone's going to be primarying his ass, because we can't exactly have Republicans who actually give a shit about people, now can we? Ultimately, these tough decisions should not be made by the government. They should not be made by the state of Ohio, DeWine said. They should be made by the people who love these kids the most, and that's the parents. The parents who have raised that child, the parents who have seen that child grow through agony, the parents who worry about that child every single day of their life. Now, just a slight clarification on this. True, in most cases, the parents have the best interest of the child at heart, but transphobic parents exist. So I would like to point out that it's not always the parents who are the best advocates for the child. But yeah, in most cases, that is true. They are not a bunch of bigots, and they accept that even some of them, even regardless of their beliefs, understand that their child is suffering. So there is that. But still, I'm liking what he's saying, and I'm wondering how long he's going to remain governor of Ohio, because I can see that the Republicans screaming that he's being way too nice, and we can't have that. Being way too reasonable. The governor's veto drew swift rebukes Friday from supporters of gender-affirming care bans, both in the state and nationally. Wait, what? Am I misunderstanding something? Oh, of the bans. Okay. Yes, I misread that. All right. Republican Bernie Moreno, a Trump-endorsed candidate for U.S. Senate. Well, that tells you everything you need to know about him. And Center for Christian Virtue President Aaron Baer both called on the legislature to override his veto. Mike DeWine has failed Ohio, and it's our children who are going to pay the price, Baer said in a statement. Counterpoint, Mike DeWine is a courageous person going against his party in order to protect lives. Because it's been shown that if you treat trans kids with the care that they deserve, not necessarily just medical care, just socially, you treat them the way they, feel, like treating a trans man as a man, or trans woman as a woman, it does wonders to their mental health. So, no, you're not on the side of protecting children. You are actually on the wrong side of this. So yeah, he's probably going to pay a price. Not the kids, but he's probably going to pay a price for this. But no, not the children. The only time they'll pay a price is if the ban went through. Then the children pay a price. Terry Schilling, president of the Conservative American Principles Project, said in a statement that DeWine had succumbed to egregious lies being perpetuated about transgender care. The only egregious lies are coming from your side, dummy. He said history would remember that DeWine gave in to cowardice and caved to the transgender industry. Seriously? That is preying on so many vulnerable individuals. No. No, they're not. First off, what the hell is a transgender industry? There is no industry. I mean, are you talking about the fact that gender clinics exist? That's not an industry. It's not like, I don't know, say, entire religion that tells you that you should hate your child because they don't look, think, and act like you. That to me is more of an industry. Granted, it's a cult industry, but still. The conservative Christian legal group Alliance Defending Freedom called DeWine's veto a betrayal. Oh no. Republican State Representative Gary Click, the bill's sponsor, stopped short of supporting a veto override. That's weird. He commended DeWine for trying to wrap his mind around a complex problem in a short amount of time, while defending his own years of research on the bill. Yeah, somehow I think DeWine's research is superior to yours. What research? Click said he was particularly disappointed that the ban on transgender girls playing sports could be sidelined if non-legislative solutions were pursued on gender-affirming care. Okay, now, there's a lot of debate about transgender boys playing transgender girls playing girl sports. Ugh. Confused myself. And if we're talking about post-puberty, those are completely valid concerns. And that's why they need things like puberty blockers. I mean, if they didn't go through male puberty, then there should be no problem, right? So, yeah, that is tricky. I will give them that. And before puberty, what the hell is wrong with you? I remember boys and girls competing together. They still do. Because prior to puberty, there is no difference between boys and girls. I mean, come on. All right. Republican Senate President Matt Huffman and GOP Ohio House Speaker Jason Stevens both expressed disappointment, defending lawmakers' extensive work on the legislation. Stevens said his chamber is weighing its options with regard to beginning the veto override process. House Democrats said the legislation was based on hate, and DeWine's veto supported fundamental freedoms and parental rights. Senate Democratic leader Nikki Antonio, the first openly gay person to serve in the Ohio General Assembly, said her party would continue its fight until all may enjoy the freedoms to live their authentic lives without government interference. The Human Rights Campaign, the nation's largest LGBTQ+ rights organization, and the American Academy of Pediatrics Ohio chapter also lauded the veto as a positive for some of the state's most vulnerable youth. It was a moment of relief for Alicia and Aaron Burkle, parents from Cleveland, to Astrid, a 10-year-old transgender girl. The family had been looking into options, even considering leaving Ohio if gender-affirming care was banned. Since the legislation reached his desk, they, along with their friends and family, have been calling and emailing their concerns. It's just been constant action, Alicia Burkle said. So to just sit down and listen to his message and hear that he actually listens to families like ours and heard our stories, it actually sounded like he listened. It's not a complete win, though, Aaron Burkle said. We're breathing a sigh of relief today, but there's already been a lot of damage done to our community, to families like ours, and we know that this issue is not yet completely resolved. The vetoed bill would have prohibited Ohio minors from receiving gender reassignment surgery. It's not one surgery. There is not one gender reassignment surgery, people. But also from taking puberty blockers or undergoing other hormone therapies. It would have allowed those already undergoing treatments to continue, however. Now, again, think about it. If it's true that trans girls who have gone through male puberty have a biological advantage over cis girls, then by preventing those girls from attaining puberty blockers, you're basically screwing them over. Once they begin estrogen, they won't be as strong as cis boys, but they'll be considered too strong to compete with cis girls. Cis girls. So, what does that leave them? So, basically, they're trying their damnedest to, try to prevent trans people from existing, which isn't going to work. Trans people are going to exist whether you're dicks to them or not. But at least even that bill would have allowed those already being treated to continue that. So, at least something. DeWine directed state agencies to begin the rulemaking process to restrict gender-affirming surgeries to adults, only to set up a system for tracking the gender-affirming treatments both minor and adult Ohioans are undergoing, and to prevent pop-up clinics or fly-by-night operations from deceptive practices surrounding gender-affirming care. And I'm fine with protecting trans people from these scams. I have no problem with that. I can't imagine anyone has a problem with that. So I guess that's what it means about system for tracking and regulation to prevent these jerks from taking advantage of vulnerable people. Ironically, the very thing that the transphobes are claiming that they're doing, trying to protect vulnerable people. Anyway, the governor said a small number of Ohio children would have been affected by the bill, but for those children who face gender dysphoria and for their families, the consequences of this bill could not be more profound. Yes, exactly. He said he could think of no example where state law overrules the medical decisions of not only parents, but also the medical judgment of a child's treating physician and medical team. I can think of one. Ohio has taken care of that, but the threat of putting restrictions on abortion, I would say that is exactly what state law would have overruled a medical decision. But luckily, the women of Ohio came out in droves and told Republicans to go fuck themselves. Well, I should say the Republicans that be, because many Republican women were also amongst those saying, keep your hands off my medical procedure. Anyway, DeWine said he does not see that position as inconsistent with his opposition to November's Issue 1, a successful abortion rights amendment, whose backers similarly argued that government has no place in individuals' personal reproductive decisions. See, that's what I mean. I kind of figured that that was the hypocrisy, that it was DeWine who wanted to tell women what to do with their bodies, but somehow he doesn't see that as inconsistent, as hypocritical. You're got to be kidding me. Did you bother to talk to women? Do you listen to women as a general rule about anything? On the abortion issue, I believe that's a question of life and protecting human life. What about the woman's life there, dude? Is she not a human life? Or is she just a walking incubator to you? The governor said, I believe ultimately my decision here was ultimately made about protecting life, and that is the lives of these children. Now, I appreciate that you care about the children, that you care about born children. That's awesome. But seriously, you're going to say that a potential life has more meaning to you than the actual life of the mother? Because you seem to have no problem when it comes to trans kids making sure that they lead fulfilling lives. But for some reason you don't think adult women, adult female lives are worth preserving? That is just bizarre that you can pretzel your brain like that and think that somehow the issues are different and that you're somehow being consistent. I knew that there was going to be something that I wasn't going to like about this article, and there you go. So, I think this is now actually the end of the article. Yes, it is. So, with that, I will see you guys in the next video.